Dear comrades and friends, it is a great honor for me to deliver the keynote address to the global launch of the celebration of the 200th birth anniversary of Karl Marx in Manila and Mexico under the sponsorship of the International League of People's Struggle and other organizations this May 5. Within the month, the ILPS is also co-sponsoring a similar event in Milan, Italy. The celebration of the life and works of the great communist Karl Marx will last for one whole year. It shall include study conferences and seminars to produce books, artworks, mass meetings, and protest actions on urgent major issues, art and cultural exhibits and performances. The theme of the celebration is Change the World, as in Marx's epitaph in Highgate Cemetery. It is the abbreviated form of number 11 of the thesis on Feuerbach, which states the philosophers have merely interpreted the world in various ways. The point, however, is to change it. We must celebrate the continuing validity and vitality of the revolutionary teachings of Karl Marx. Let us comprehend and instill in ourselves the fundamental principles of Marxism that he and his comrade Friedrich Engels laid down in the era of free competition capitalism. Marx developed the theory of proletarian revolution on the high road of civilization. He drew from the most advanced sources of knowledge of his time in order to formulate the three components of Marxism: materialist philosophy, political economy, and social science. He studied German philosophies, especially the idealist Hegel and materialist Feuerbach. He adopted the scientific materialist outlook and formulated materialist dialectics as a method of thinking and acting by putting the erstwhile metaphysical dialectics on a materialist basis, not just the perception of sensuous reality, but up to the critical revolutionary activity to change social reality. He applied dialectical materialism on social history and founded historical materialism to explain the transformation of one form of society to a higher one through the contradictions of the mode of production and the social superstructure and through class struggle. He traced the progressive sequence of the primitive communal society: slavery, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, and communism. He studied British political economy, especially the exponents of the labor theory of value, Adam Smith and David Ricardo, in order to write Das Kapital, his colossal and penetrating critique of capitalism. He studied the commodity as the cell of large-scale machine production and as the embodiment of labor power, and came up with a theory of surplus value to explain exploitation, with surplus value or unpaid labor as a source of industrial profit, back interest, and land rent in the very process of capitalist production. He traced the accumulation of capital through profit-making by the capitalist competitors, the speedier growth of constant capital in plant, equipment, and raw materials over variable capital for wages, the tendency of the profit rate to fall, the crisis of overproduction in relation to the decline of real wages and consumable demand, and the desperate use of finance capital and colonial expansion to maintain the industrial capitalist economy. He studied French social science, especially the revolutionary Democrats and the utopian socialists. He recognized a series of class struggles in history as the cause of social transformation. He appreciated the class struggle of the proletariat as the key to the democratic mass struggle for socialism and combated the voluntarism and wishful thinking that characterized utopian socialism. He ascribed to the French revolutionary democrats the earlier conception of class struggle and asserted that his contribution is the conception of class struggle as one leading to the class dictatorship of the proletariat in socialist society. The core of the theory of scientific socialism is the overthrow of the class dictatorship of the bourgeoisie by that of the proletariat, as well explicated in the Communist Manifesto in 1848. This is the best known of the works of Marx and Engels. It was written in connection with the Communist League. It presaged the Europe-wide uprisings of the workers and peasants, but did not yet directly exercise influence among them. Marx and Engels were active in the First International, the International Working Men's Association. Members of this association took part in the Paris Commune of 1871. This revolutionary event created the prototype of the proletarian class dictatorship. It made achievements worthy of praise and emulation, but was not thoroughgoing enough, as well explained by Marx in the Civil War in France. It lasted for a little over 2 months until it was drowned in blood by the bourgeoisie. It has bequeathed to us the lesson that the worker state can live and grow stronger for as long as it can smash the bureaucratic and military machinery of the bourgeois state. The influence of Marxism would spread faster through the Second International, with Engels propagating Marxist theory and practice after the death of Marx on March 14, 1883. By the last decade of the 19th century, Marxism became dominant in the European working class movement, both in the social democratic parties and trade unions. Only with a firm grasp of the fundamental principles laid down by Marx and Engels can we understand the theoretical and practical advance of the revolutionary proletariat to Leninism in the era of modern imperialism and proletarian revolution, and appreciate the victories in establishing and building socialism in one country and then in several countries, in connection with the ever-worsening general crisis of capitalism and inter-imperialist wars. Likewise, our grasp of Marxism and Leninism is necessary for our understanding of Maoism as a great effort to combat modern revisionism, prevent capitalist restoration, and consolidate socialism. By adhering to Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, we can continue to fight imperialism, modern revisionism, and reaction. We can understand that the world capitalist system continues to decay and decompose from one major crisis to another, despite the previous temporary success of modern revisionism in undermining and disintegrating socialism in the Soviet Union, China, and other countries. U.S. imperialism boasted of being the sole unchallenged superpower after the Soviet Union collapsed and the Cold War ended, but it accelerated its strategic decline by carrying out its neoliberal economic policy and neoconservative policy of escalating war production and aggressive wars. The increase of capitalist powers in competing for markets and political hegemony has resulted in unprecedentedly intensified inter-imperialist contradictions and crisis conditions that are favorable for the resurgence of the revolutionary movements for national liberation, democracy, and socialism. Thus, we speak today of the continuing validity and vitality of Marxism and its further theoretical and practical development. We benefit increasingly from the teachings of Marx and Engels, and then from the great successors like Lenin, Stalin, and Mao, and we shall further benefit from the teachings and leadership of their subsequent successors and the revolutionary parties of the proletariat that continue to fight and strive to defeat imperialism, revisionism, and all reaction, and aim for socialism as a dominant social system in the world and as the preparation for the communist future. Long live the memory and teachings of Karl Marx. Long live Marxism, Leninism, Maoism. Long live all the genuine communist and workers' parties. Long live the world proletarian socialist revolution. Long live the proletariat and oppressed peoples.